Good evening. It is Wednesday, August the 24th, about 8:30 p.m. This is meteorologist Shay Gibson chiming in again for the Indigo Cup to Georgetown race. This will be the second forecast. I'll do tomorrow night. I'll be at the skippers meeting to give a formal forecast and then wrap it up with a final Friday morning. Um, Not much change. I'm still sticking to my guns with this nocturnal jetting setup for Friday night. The question is going to be, we're going to have rains and storms in the area to start the race with really light winds, and when are they going to pick up? Let's go ahead and put me down in the corner here. So the Charleston Ocean Racing Association webpage with the Indigo Cup to Georgetown instructions. Everything is here. Still not too late to register, and you can go to the skipper's information, offshore wind and weather to see the latest forecast, and I'm going to pin that here as soon as this video is finished uploading to YouTube, and I can get it on there. Um, but let's take a look at the visible satellite, and we're still seeing this very unsettled pattern. We still have a frontal system here, another segment of a frontal system here, and just a lot of Gulf moisture just streaming up into the southeast region. So really, it's just a every day for us. We're tired. We're getting kind of a lot of people are just getting kind of tired of it. We all are. The question is when is it going to break, and is there going to be enough winds for Friday night? And I think we will have just enough to scoot up the coast overnight to Georgetown. Um, right now, we have a lot of storms moving in the area. That's going to be expected through tomorrow and even into Friday as we get into Friday morning and Friday afternoon. We'll have better guidance on modeling as we get into Thursday night and Friday morning as far as the precip coverage goes. So just be ready for some rains and occasional storm, but nothing too severe. It does not look like we're going to see any severe weather out of this. If anything, it'd be very limited to maybe inland or mid-state level if that's going to happen. In fact, if we look at our storm outlook for Friday, it looks just for thunderstorms, nothing even marginal on the horizon. But some of these could flare up, and you may see some frequent lightning. So just be aware that there may be some possibility of storms throughout the day and even into the evening, and they usually die down at night. But can't rule out a stray storm or two even in the overnight hours during this kind of setup. Let's go ahead and take a look at the WPC surface map. And as we spoke last night, I talked about a frontal system or a cold front dropping down from the north, and this is it right here, coming down from the Great Lakes. This is going to start pushing towards the southeast. The big question is, will it get to the Appalachians in time? Usually, if it hangs up at the Appalachians, we get less of that nocturnal jetting. If it gets to the Appalachians and just spills over just lee side of the Appalachians, that's when we can get a little bit more of that nocturnal jetting. But I'll tell you what, the NAM3 and the NAM12 are on it, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But if we go out in time, we see that front dropping down by Friday morning at 8 o'clock a.m. And then by Friday night, 8 o'clock p.m., there it is. We're getting close to West Virginia. And so this is where we start to talk about, okay, how fast is this going to progress over the Appalachians, right? If we get it hung up over the Appalachians, we can still get a little bit of nocturnal jetting, but if not, if it hangs up on the other side, on the windward side, we may get less. So that's why some of the models are keeping the winds very light and variable through the night, because they're just not as confident on that front making it to the mountains or even over the mountains in time. And so there's a lot of physics built into it, and I won't get all technical, but just saying it just really depends on where this front is going to be as to how much supplemental wind we're going to get out of this overnight. Taking a look at the winds, I look at the Corinth buoys here and then the Edisto buoy. But obviously, we want to look at the buoy overnight for the Winyah Bay range. That's where you're going to be coming in to Georgetown. And also, we'll look at the NAM too. But basically here, and I'll run all available models for this, and the NAM3 comes out over that. We don't get the HRRR or some of the higher resolution models. They don't go into Friday just yet. But if you look, the NAM3 is really the higher performing model for this into the evening hours. So it brings wind speeds up to about 8 to 10 knots, maybe 11 knots from the south. So that's a good direction to head up the coast with. You can definitely get some traction that way. The NAM12 is joining it just below, and then some of the other models are keeping it lower with maybe a lighter southerly flow. As we get into overnight hours, it looks like the NAM3 drops off just a little bit, but stays up in the upper singles. This is going to be debatable because this could actually stay up around 10 knots and then fall down around 4 or 5 a.m. to very light winds. So this is where things get really tricky, is I would say between midnight and 5 to 6 o'clock a.m., where those winds could die down, because if that front does not make it up and over the Appalachians, then we get less chance of this to occur. And this is what makes this forecast really tricky, is will it happen or not? It's not as easy as saying yes or no. It really depends on that front. I'll have a better idea tomorrow at the skippers meeting of where it's going to be and if the NAM3 is going to hang on to the higher winds for that night. But we're all just kind of crossing our fingers on timing on this whole thing, because if If it doesn't make it there, then we probably just have light and variable winds through after 10 o'clock p.m. So there again, a little bit of a roll of the dice, but the confidence I think is still high with NAM3 holding in place with those wind speeds for the last couple of days. So we'll see what it does tomorrow. We'll see how it performs. Again, look at the NAM3 just along the coastline as we get into Friday afternoon. Looks like really light sea breezes to start the race in the afternoon. We're looking at 4 to 6 knots, maybe 8 knots if we get a south-southwest flow. And this is a 5 o'clock p.m. slot here, and so that's from the southwest, and then we get into the evening hours, and we see the NAM3 building that nocturnal jetting phase in overnight and holding it, but it's a little bit further offshore, right? So that's where some of this nocturnal jetting may be a little bit stronger, is a little further out. And sometimes this is incorrect. It just does not. It assumes it's over land, but it really these southwest nocturnal jets kind of push into the all the way into the coastline. But as you know, you want to swing pretty far out around Bulls Bay anyway, so you're going to be out there. So you should be able to catch it. Other than that, I don't have anything else as far as winds go. We talk about the tidal swing on Friday. It looks like high tide's going to be at 8:22 p.m. So we have a flood tide to start, as we've spoken the last couple of forecasts. We're getting out of the neap tide phase. We get back to the normal phase at 5.9, and then low tide at 0.5. That's for tomorrow. As we get into Friday, looks like pretty much the same, right about 6 feet and about 0.5 feet right there at the time of low tide. So normal tides for this race, and that means that the surface current speed is still going to be holding at 1.7 knots with the max flood at about 5:12 p.m. That's right after start. So you're going to have kind of a head current with a southerly wind to get out there and get across. So the jetties may be a little tricky on that, especially in the flood, and the current's a little stronger in the jetty. So maybe more like 2 to 2.1 knots on that current through the jetties, just because of the funneling effect it has. So keep that in mind. I know I didn't talk about that last time, but I just thought of it today. Like, hey, I have to account for some of the currents through the jetties because it tends to be tighter and faster. So I'd always maybe add another half a knot on top of that at the very least. And some of the sailors may argue even more than that. So just be aware. We'll discuss that at the skipper's meeting as well. Near shore buoy, looks like the waves are still going to be the same. I'm just going to use the reference point for Capers near shore forecast. So it looks like pretty straight and simple. We have a peak period of about 7 to 8 seconds, directions east, southeast. And then the wave heights are going to be right around close to 2 feet. I'd say 1.5 to 2 feet out there. As you get further out, out to, and I'll pull up the CORA right now in real time, anyways, is, and I'll have to go back and refresh this page, but either way, let's see if I can figure that out on another one here. Bring it back in. When I'm doing this recording, it doesn't let me just kind of go out and back in again. So here we go. Waves are about 2 feet. So that's 40 miles out. I'm sorry, the Charleston 40 buoy, and that's the Edisto buoy. So that's 60 miles out. So you figure about 1.5 to 2 feet. And that's going to be your wave heights for the event. Otherwise, that's about it. That's all I have. I'll see you guys at the skipper's meeting tomorrow night. We're crossing our fingers for that wind to fill in. I'll also be calling the Weather Service Charleston to find out if they see if any storm coverage is going to be rampant throughout the night or into the next morning. Otherwise, you guys take care. I'll see you tomorrow.